Good morning and welcome to this weekly market update from AGM Markets. Today is the 25th of June 2012. What we'll be doing today is going through technical analysis on Euro Dollar, Cable, Dollar Swiss, Aussie Dollar and Gold. We'll not be making any trade calls or recommendations in this video. You trade at your own risk. If you could please read our full disclaimer on our website www.agmmarkets.com. As you can see on our charts for any new followers, we have 3 moving averages on each of these charts. The red one is a 55 simple moving average, the purple is 100 simple, and the gold is a 200 simple moving average. Okay, let's have a look at Euro Dollar. What do we have on Euro Dollar? What happened last week? Just in terms of the sort of candle, I'm not massively interested in any setups on this chart. Pretty much a very sort of standard bearish candle there, not an engulfing or anything like that. There's still a bit of low wick on that candle, so a pretty standard bearish candle. And a lot of people still say it's still continuing to the upside here. In terms of the last sort of 4 candles, we're still in that sort of uptrend, but let's not dwell on that too much. In terms of the daily, it does look like a bull flag, really. No, a bear flag, sorry. And it does look like we are starting to break down, so be careful on that. The sellers will be coming in on this break of this bull flag, which looks like it's starting to now. But I think the more interesting charts are, especially this is the 4-hour chart. I think we spoke about the channel to the upside on this. I mean, we can quickly just draw the trend on support that we had last week. It was holding for some time. We also had that confluence with a 55 bar moving average there as well on this 4-hour chart. But we've now broken this uptrend. So what I'm really sort of focused on in terms of any sort of buying opportunities, or if any buyers are watching this video looking to buy any dips, a lot of people will be looking at this 61.8. You now see that we've had, I mean, last week on, I think it was Thursday or Friday, we had the bounce off this 50% around here. And that started to hold quite nicely, but you didn't see any sort of momentum. It really did struggle for some momentum going to the upside, and you can now see that we've got this 4-hour candle close below this 50%. So it definitely looks like the bears are in control of Euro Dollar. But the next sort of key support zone that I'd be focused on, which I think is quite an interesting zone, is this 61.8 Fibonacci retracement. You can also see, if you look to the left of your chart here, you can see it was also a previous support zone, so that'll be key going into these next couple of days. What happens? What does price do at this level? But no, it's been a very interesting chart, a very technical chart, Euro. The bears are in control, but for me, it's all about the 61.8, the 61.8 level. What's going to happen at that level? Okay, let's have a look at cable. In terms of cable, you can see, well, we spoke about last week, the key support that was holding around here, sort of a long-term support level around the sort of 152.90, 153, you could say. We had a nice pop up above that. But what we've said is, in terms of the seller's going to come back in, it will be all about this 200-day moving average, and you can see that the sellers did come in at that level, and you can now see that we're now starting to have some sort of downside pressure. You can also see here that the 55-day moving average is crossed below the 100-day moving average. A lot of people think that's a key sort of selling indicator there. Not that I'm a fan of the crosses on these type of moving averages, but you can see it's been working quite effectively, to be fair. In terms of the fibs, I can't remember where this fib came in here. If you draw it from the highs to the lows of my chart, you're just shy of the 50%. Actually, no, it's pretty well, yeah, just shy by a few pips. But that was a nice sort of confluence selling zone. I think we spoke about last week. We definitely spoke about 200-day moving average, but also that 50% level is coming in there. So the sellers have come in at that level. If you want to look at the reverse sort of fib from the lows to the highs, if we draw it on this the 4-hour chart, the lows to the highs, the 50% comes in at one spot, 55.22. So quite similar to Euro, really. Especially last week, we did have a nice sort of uptrend that was holding. We're now starting to break down, but it seems to be lagging compared to Euro Dollar. A lot of people think that cable does lag Euro Dollar. It looks like it is here. It's pretty much an identical sort of chart, really, especially sort of 4-hour charts. I mean, even the 55 bar moving average was holding very nicely, very, very similar to Euro. But in terms of this cable chart, instead of the 61.8 that we're looking at on Euro, it'll be all about the 50% here for me. See what happens at this level. You already see we're starting to get a bounce off this 100 bar moving average on the 4-hour chart. So some interesting sort of buying opportunities here. You can also see, similar to Euro, where we had bounced off this previous 61.8. There's a previous support zone around here, so that comes in at one spot 54.62. So nice, interesting chart there, similar to Euro as well. That'll be interesting to see what happens at those levels. Let's have a look at the dollar Swiss. What do we have going on here? This is on the daily chart. The first thing you should always draw, just see what sort of trend we're in. So we're still in an uptrend on this daily. It's a big upward trend line here. We're starting to get some nice bounces off of that trend line support. So the odds are to the upside, you'd have to say. In terms of the fib, I think it came shy to this level, but from that low to the high there, we were looking at a bounce off the 50%. Didn't quite come down to that, but it did come out of this trendline support. So you can see we had a nice bounce off of that last week. I think that was sort of last Tuesday, with a decent bounce off of that trendline support. That's all I'd really be focused on. I mean, in terms of the 4-hour kind of, I mean, we spoke about last week how Euro dollar was on an upward trend and dollar Swiss a downward trend. Are doing sort of pretty much a mirror image of the charts. You can see, like here, we've broken down, but on Euro we've broken above the trend line resistance. So in terms of the fibs, most probably we're probably eyeing 61.8. Surprise, surprise. We've broken above the 50% and we're now looking towards the 61.8, which is also previous resistance. As on Euro it was previous support. Pretty much a mirror image of the Euro chart. So basically the way to trade Euro dollar Swiss is just look at Euro dollar chart and just do the opposite. Okay, let's have a look at Aussie dollar. What do we have on the Aussie? Very technical chart in terms of Fibonacci retracements. We had a big bounce off a level which we spoke about last week. What was going to happen at the 50% from this recent swing high to swing low? No, it's not that fib, sorry, the one above it from the highs. You can see we had a lovely bounce off the 50% to the pip at the one spot 0220. So we're now in a big swing sell here. A big swing sell setup here. A lot of people will be trading this indeed. So they'll be eyeing the 0.9578, but obviously that's still a long way away. So the next support I'll be focused on is the fib. If you flip it to the 4-hour, the fib from the lows. Give me 2 secs. From the lows to the highs there. And what's going to happen at the 50% level here? So that comes in at 0.9901. You also have the 100 bar and the 200 bar coming in just above that 50% on the 4-hour chart. So be key to see what happens there. And similar to Euro as well, if you look at down at 61.8, look to your left here. Previous support, and it's crazy how it coincides with these new sort of fibs, what's going to happen at these levels. So if we get a break below that 50%, definitely keep an eye on that 61.8, as that is a previous bounce zone there. So another technical chart really. That's done with the forex. Have a look at gold. What do we have on gold on the weekly? Still, it's still hanging in there on that previous support. I think it's around the 1560 level. 1560 level. We haven't had a weekly close below that level. But last week's candles and bearish engulfing. So the sellers are looking like they're wanting to come down. We had the Fed on last week saying no sort of hint of QE, so we did have some dollar strength. And of course, if there was any hint of QE, then gold would have absolutely skyrocketed up, but we didn't have that. So we leave that. I mean, you see, I'm looking at Friday's candle. If we're drawing that 1560 level, pretty much to the pip. Nice daily hammer candle there as well. So we'd not be surprised these next 2 days if we do get any bounce towards the upside. You can also see that we're making higher lows here as well on this gold chart. holding nicely, so you have to keep that in mind, especially that hammer as well. So in the next couple of days, I'll definitely, I mean, my personal bias will be towards the upside. Of course, you all the stuff going on the Eurozone, so people are still buying it as a safe haven and to hedge their portfolios. But it has been a very technical chart, but it has been also quite choppy as well, so you have to be very savvy to be trading gold and making pips off gold, because it has been a difficult chart to trade, not as easy as or sort of more straightforward, I should say, as euro dollar and cable. It has been much choppy, but you can still just keep that 1560 level on your chart and keep this this trend line support, and that's one way to play it. Okay, that's the technical analysis done. Let's have a look at the Forex calendar and what do we coming up for the rest of the week. Today, so I just need to flip the timing over. We'll set to US time, let's just put it to UK time. So yeah, today the main headline news is US new home sales coming out at 3 PM UK time, expected at 347,000, previously was 343,000. Tomorrow, headline data, we have at 9:30 UK time, public sector net borrowing out of the UK. At 10 AM we have the inflation report hearings, and at 3 PM we have US consumer confidence numbers. On Wednesday, at 1:30 of the US core durable goods orders, numbers forecast at 1%, previously was a bad number at minus 0.9%, so expecting an increase there. And some more US data at 3 PM. We have the pending home sales month-on-month numbers, forecast at 1.3%. I remember the previous numbers were shocking at minus 5.5%. On Thursday, for any cable traders, we have 9:30 of the current account. All day we have the EU Economic Summit, so be careful any news out on the wires from that. In terms of economic data of the US weekly jobless claims at 1:30, forecast at 385,000, previously was 387,000. And on Friday, a lot of mid-tier data here, you can see there highlighted in the orange. We have an Italian 10-year bond auction. We have Bank of England Governor Mervyn King speaking at 10:30 AM. And we have some more US data. Anyone who trade the loonie, we do have some Canadian data out at 1:30. Canadian GDP month-on-month forecast at 0.2%, and previously 0.1%. So yeah, I mean, not a massively economic data filled calendar next week, but there's still quite a lot of mid-tier data, so do keep an eye on that, because it sometimes does have an effect on the markets. Okay, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed that video. Feel free to comment under the video. I'll post it on YouTube and on Twitter as well. If there's any charts that you want to have a look at next week, or any questions you want to ask, then feel free to ask those questions. Yeah, and I'll catch you next week. Have a great week trading. Thank you.